Guys, Condi here. I appreciate you watching the video, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about something that I've learned to save you 5 years of suffering. So just stay tuned. This conversation is about whether or not you think that there is something out there, especially if you're suffering in the current moment, and what I've learned so that way you can get out of the rut that you're in. I first want to state by saying I'm not a professional of any kind, so please seek medical help. This is just for entertainment purposes only. Now let's get to it. Right, so I started, my first ever boyfriend was when I was 19. So in high school, I never dated, I never went out, I was never invited to parties, I wasn't that girl. In fact, I was the typical Asian girl that smelled like curry and had basketball shorts and didn't even know what shaving was or what deodorant was. You know, I was very much like, I'm thank God that I had friends in high school that like kind of taught me how to be a woman, because I was absolutely a tomboy. I got along with the guys more than I got along with the girls, because to me it felt like they didn't judge. They it was just laid back, and I felt like I didn't have to show up as someone that I'm not. And so my first ever boyfriend was in high school. And then from 19 up until really like this past month, so I'm 23 right now, that's about 4 years of dating, 3 relationships, and it just went south. And I was like, I really need to figure out what's going on, because I cannot continue to pass this on. And I will say, it sounds so cliche, but loving yourself is really hard. Loving other people is really hard. So I'm going to explain to you. In the society that we're in, it's very insidious to assume that because something bad happened to you, that that's forever going to be the population you're accepting. So if you got cheated on, that like, oh, all men are like that, that's insidious to assume. You did not create this world, but you did create your own world. And so, you know, I have been cheated on, I've been lied to, guys leading me on. I was basically 100%, 0% relationship where I was the man and had to figure everything out and plan everything out. And I listened to this clip of Tony Robbins talking to this girl, and this woman was like, why do I feel like I have to be someone to get love? I'm so tired. I'm so tired of being masculine. Yes, I'm a successful businesswoman, but I'm attracting the wrong pool. And he basically said, he was like, well, whose parents' affection did you crave the most? And she was like, well, you know, I craved my mom's affection, my dad's affection, whatever. And he was like, who'd you have to be to receive that affection? She was like, well, I had to be hardworking, you know, figure out a plan and just tough it out, thug it out, which I related to, because growing up, I'm the older sister. I had to figure out what they were going to eat, how to pay the bills, how to call insurance, how to do paperwork while managing school, you know, going through my family's health issue. Then COVID hit, and then we're like low income family. And so trying to figure out how to get out of this rat race. And I felt like I only received love, or some false love, right? Transactional love, when I'm useful, when I make the call, when I give money, when I do. And so when I'm going into these 3 relationships, guess what I attracted? I only received attention and love by doing something, and I couldn't keep up anymore. Like, I couldn't keep up this facade of like, I'll pay the bills. I used to pay the man's car bill. I used to pay, you know, like the apartment and everything. And I never was in a relationship where I felt like I was like truly taken care of without having to like do something in return. That doesn't mean that I don't bring value. That means like the fear of, if I don't do what they say, that they're gonna leave and that I will never receive the affection and love. And guess what? It all fell apart. And like, I just come to understand that I need to figure something out, because if I want to have a family one day, and I'm a very traditional woman, I believe in marriage, monogamy, I believe in the idea of one partner, loyalty in a world that when I say this, y'all, when I say I'm so glad I'm out the mix and in my own lane, because everybody's experience is different, but I've just had it a lot easier, because I truly do believe God was protecting me and my soul and my innocence. Instead of like constantly like sneaky links and getting to relationships and getting into the dark world. And like, you know, I was like, even though I was the weird girl, like the girl that just wasn't cool enough to be cool to be invited to parties, but like was too not smart enough to be part of the Asian club. So I felt like I had to, like, you know, in my own world. And I'm so grateful looking back after high school because everybody and their mama is pregnant. Okay, now back to the story. Is I felt like I had to be the man, or someone that I'm truly not, to receive love. And I was like, there has to be a man out there that is willing to pay all the bills, pour into me, take care of me, wants to have a family, wants to build a business together, and just like that power couple, impact the world, and take our pains and our traumas and elevate and grow and learn. And it was really discouraging because it wasn't just first time, shame on me because I didn't know. Second time, well, first time, shame on them. Right, second time, shame on me. Third time, like, okay, I need to really take ownership and accountability for all my relationships because I cannot continue like this. If I have a daughter one day and I don't fix this, heal this, it's gonna pass on to her. And that's where the idea of like generational curse and comes, is like what isn't dealt with in the past in our lives is gonna bleed into whatever. And so it's hard because you really don't talk to people about this when you're in this world of personal development, self journey. Yeah, you have mentors, you have podcasts, and like you're just trying your best, but it seems like, are you doing something wrong? Because there's not really much people around you to like reassure you that you're in the right process. Well, I'm here to tell you I got your back, okay? And so when you're in this predicament of like loving yourself is hard in a society that has been programmed to be desensitizing, meaning like once you go through a heartbreak, it's easy to go on Tinder, it's easy to go on Bumble to find the next chick, instead of like blaming, like, taking ownership on yourself on your behalf, and then acknowledging their part and letting go and healing and really being in solitude with God, with Jesus Christ, and taking the time to heal. Because hurt people is in the past. It's 2026, and like, it's not for nothing. And this is why a lot of people are bodies after bodies, relationships after relationships. Again, there is nothing wrong with that. I will encourage you to assess, why is it that nothing is working? Because you're not speaking truth and living truth. You're not co-creating with Jesus Christ, with the universe, with God, whoever you believe is of love and of light. Okay? And so you're doing something wrong. And you have to admit that. And for me, I was too masculine, and I wasn't really willing to let go of this anger side, this like, I had to protect myself in the relationship. I had to compensate and do things for the man, so that way I can receive some type of affection. And I was living from a place of fear, a place of transactional relationship, and I wasn't perfect either, and they weren't. And I remember this one man was like, women are supposed to be the crown of the relationship. Yeah, and you cheated. So what does that mean? So loving yourself and choosing love in a better reality means that, look, you now know what people are capable of. And that is scary. That is scary. It's scary to love the gender that has hurt you the most. And it's hard to trust yourself that you are capable of loving yourself, knowing that the potential exists, yet choosing to see love, to see light while doing the healing work. Does that make sense? Like, for example, now that I know men can cheat, men can lie, men can like lead on just to get some and say what they're not, and to stop the disappointment is take them for the first time of what they say, who they are, right? And stop marrying potential. That is something that I learned. Like, I was in this, I'm gonna find my husband, and I was willing to put up with stuff, and I realized, how much am I gonna drag myself and my hair into this whole mess? Okay, like, it doesn't have to be that hard. I'm tired of suffering. So I decided to do the internal work and really assess what was going on. And I had to be this like masculine figure to receive my mom's attention. And if I wasn't that, I wouldn't receive that. And I just, one day I was tired. You know what I mean? Like, after a long shift, it's just like, what energy do you have? And I just surrendered to Jesus. And I was like, you know what? Please take this characteristic. This is not the woman that I want to be. This is not healthy. I don't want to have to be paranoid, watching my back, always feeling like I can't trust somebody. And I had to heal and take personal responsibility for myself, my emotions. So the next time a beautiful man comes into my life, I will know. But that doesn't mean like it wasn't for anything. So the bravest thing you can do is choose love in a world that is telling you to desensitize yourself and other people, see them as a sex object and just a good time, that if he pays for your dinner, then let him get some of that. Like, no. At what point is sex so demoralizing and we're watching like so much horror videos and crime videos, and it's like this is the world that it has become. But you can choose to live out of that world. You just have to find your group and the right people and want and be willing to do the work to get into that world. For me, I always dreamed of like my husband. I always dreamed of like my finances and my babies, and like building a business together, traveling the world together, like helping young girls and young guys like heal themselves, and you know, just pouring in light, having the divine act through me to serve other people. And I've had a lot of guys say, oh yeah, you know, I'm all aboard. I dumbed down my spirituality and my beliefs and my dreams for somebody to stay. I played small, thinking that it's safe for me to exist, when the hardest part is finding out that they weren't who they say they were, and picking myself back up and wiping my own tears and telling myself that I'm unlovable, even if there was nobody of the opposite gender to reassure me. So I got to go to Jesus Christ and to God. You know, I remember I called Jesus Christ and I was like, please just please hug me. And oh my God, I get so emotional because I was going through a massive shift in my life like last year, and there was this, I was at the library and I was doing sales at that time, and this man just comes up to me and gives me a hug out of nowhere, and he just like disappears, and I'm like looking for him. I'm just like on my computer, and I learned that like I'd asked for God to be here for me to reconcile, because you know, I'm not emotional like that with my family. I don't ever call my parents like that. There's not that click, you know. So I always had myself to rely on. And I remember I was bawling my eyes out because I was like, that was an angel that was sent to me to give me a hug and tell me that everything was okay, and trying to pick up my worth as a woman in a world where it's just easy to throw my body out there and like quit, you know, and lie to myself that the world doesn't need me, because the world does. And the hardest part was like, yeah, I know that people are capable of this, and I'm not naive to believe that such another reality can exist, and I choose that reality because this one is just not working for me. So choosing to love yourself and love other people and be open to love after you've been hurt over and over again is the fucking hardest thing, because 99% of the people are walking around feeling unsafe and unloved, and those two breeds chaos. Okay, and I'm just tired of that reality. But the reality that I choose to be in, where it's kind of like people that are aligned to my values and goals, it's so peaceful, guys. Like, I don't have to worry about pleasing people. I don't have to worry about showing up in the relationship, wearing makeup all the time, and only getting complimented when I look nice, you know. And like knowing that, hey, if God loves me for me, I will love me for me, and nothing is gonna stop my husband, the future, to come to me. But I must be willing to do the internal work and surrender and take ownership on my part, because that is the only way to liberate yourself, and the doors will finally open once you do so. And a book that I've been reading is Mental Detox by Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. That book has cleared everything and just poured in the emotions that I didn't know I had, and releasing it and wanting better for myself. And on the topic of relationships and love, yes, I am single. Yes, I choose peace and I choose joy. And I realized, like, I was programmed with this idea that like, if you get into a relationship, like, you have to make them your husband, like, deal with it, you know, because like in movies, they're only like what 2-3 hours, and their love life and everything is so short. So I'm that's the only thing that I'm seeing for love, because I was looking for it. And just to realize, like, it's okay to go on dates, it's okay to have fun, take your time, you know, but that doesn't mean hurt yourself and hurt people and run away from your emotions. That just means like, I'm willing to sit with myself and figure this out, because I've been hurt. I don't need to hurt other people. I choose not to suffer. I choose to thrive. And that there is a man of God out there that is willing to love me for my soul. And there's an interesting concept called the mind mate versus a soulmate. So the mind mate is what our mind attracts based on qualifications that we deem as safe and protective. So like, for example, I used to be into like hood guys. Okay, look, I have my days. And I thought that them shooting a gun and doing drugs and, like, you know, violence was safe. Again, I grew up in a culture, in an environment, so I was familiar with that. But now growing up, it's like, no, I want peace. You know, I understand what a healthy relationship is now. And more like, just wrapping things up, it's like I attracted a mind mate based on my old program. So when you're like doing the internal work, you're literally healing your mind and aligning your heart to God, so that way things like this don't repeat itself. And I realized, as much as I'm pouring into my body and to work and into like everybody else, like if I pour into my soul, then I will attract my soul mate, right? Like a lot of us, we date potential, okay? Guilty of that. We date what could be but will never be, reaffirming this belief of like, I'm not worthy and all that. But that time is over. And you absolutely have the courage and the bravery to love yourself. You can absolutely, okay, attract your soulmate. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. And that's why not a lot of people are doing it, but the reward is so great. And one of the visions that I see is like, you know, I'm pregnant with whoever God has and my husband, and like it's the most like, we're excited, and like, you know, I like just everything like perfect, like the like proposal and like all that, like the happily ever after that I want, that I deserve, because I now understand why I deserve it. That's why I am willing to wait. That's why I'm willing to stay in my own lane. And I know I'm not the only one. And if you are a woman that is like so discouraged by society telling you that if you give your body up and if you look nice, put on makeup and your lashes, and maybe some guy, yeah, you're attracting the wrong crowd, baby. No, I'm here to tell you right now, stop believing that program. It just doesn't work. Continue to read your books. Continue to invest in yourself and your business. Don't let these little boys, okay, like think that because they give you some type of attention that that's what love is. And I realized every relationship that I had taught me something. And I've been told that the relationship was lust and not love. And so guess what? I started to see myself as an object. And so this isn't just me self-worth and believing in myself. This is shedding an identity that I grew up with, and it wasn't serving my life. And I keep thinking about like my future family, and I'm a very family oriented woman. And I think to myself, like, you know what I mean? I think to myself, like, what would my daughter say? You know, like if I had a son and I didn't do the work, and the analogy that I use is like, your ceiling is your kid's foundation. Like they're gonna have a disadvantage in society. And I love myself too much, I love God too much to put my future children in a predicament where now they're forced to do more work when it could have been dealt with and handled by me. And that's why personal development is, I try to encourage you guys, because it's not like oh my God, I'm gonna read my book and pray and read my Bible. No, it's literally all the lives that are gonna come after you, that will come after you, and how much better they would be. Like when my father, which by the way, he planned 6 to 8 years before we came to America how he was gonna come here. Like I now get to live in America, but he had to sacrifice 6 to 8 years of his life learning a language that he doesn't know, listening to the radio to learn how to speak English, and just having this drive and this ambition. And you know, like because I now have the opportunity, because he took responsibility when everyone ran away and didn't want to come to America, but he was courageous and brave enough to, like, you know what, I don't know, I might leave my family behind, but my wife and my children need me, and I want a great future for my daughter, so this is what I'm gonna do. I don't speak English, so I'm gonna listen to the radio. Like that's what I mean by personal development. It is the understanding that you have something to give, and that it starts from a place of understanding that you absolutely have the potential and the bravery to love yourself. And it might not look like society's standard of love, of the spas and the dates and the nice bags and like DMs and stuff, but before social media and everything, like we never had distractions or instant gratifications. So you had no choice but to sit with yourself. And now it's like you have to force yourself to sit with yourself, or else you will literally like be in this cycle. And I encourage you to love yourself. I encourage you to believe that there is a husband out there, but you must be willing to do the work. I encourage you to believe that the world needs you. And one of the things that I did to help me was I would volunteer a lot with vulnerable people. And I realized I am absolutely needed. And it's all these principles, morals, and values that helped me build my character. But I don't want to keep this video too long, so I'll end it there. I love you guys so much, and I hope that you have a good rest of your night.